Nick on Instagram wants to know what malt or malts do you typically try to avoid using and why? I'm going to take this question in this direction. What malts don't I use anymore? Man, by and large, I don't use crystal malt. I remember when I was getting into home brewing, even when I was brewing as a pro, there was always some Crystal 40, some Crystal 60, maybe some 80, and I really loved getting those British maltsters for those, right? That depth of flavor, that range of color that you get with them. They're just great. And I realized the other day I don't use those malts anymore. By and large, there might be a couple beers that I do, and this might be specific to my situation, but I think it's something that's going on a little bit trend-wise. I think people are using less crystal malt in their beers. I don't know if you see that where you are. What I can say by me is, I don't know. There's a product that I use from Malt Europe, and it's their crystal wheat. It's a 3 Lovibond. I use that in a handful of beers. I essentially use it as simple syrup in a cocktail. It's just some straight residual sugar, I feel. And so to pull up residual sweetness. But man, of my standards, I don't have any true crystal malt in any of my lagers. I do have some caramel type malts that in really small percentage would go into like my amber lager. I believe in Airborne Amber Lager for us. I believe that's Cara Amber in there, and so that is a caramel type malt. Shoot, most everything is more on the toasty, chocolatey base malts, and then on into base malt side. I'm not using a lot of it. I do think it is just a little bit of a trend thing. I was talking to my malt rep from Country Malt, and he was echoing the same thing. If you think about IPA right now, if you're making a hazy IPA, I doubt, I could be super wrong, but I doubt you have 10% Crystal 40 in it, or Crystal 60 or Crystal 80. Crystal malt used to be a staple in IPA, and that's kind of trended out of style a little bit. There's still beers made like that, but by and large, I think it's just one of those things. I think people get really excited about one particular thing. When it was like the arms race with bitterness with IPA, man, and you just have these big blowout IPAs, strip your palate out bitterness and everything like that. I think things tend to ebb and flow. It tends to come back more to center. So, but yeah, as far as stuff that I don't use a lot, I don't use a lot of crystal malt anymore. And that might change based on consumer preferences, because listen, if we're doing this for a living, consumer preferences matter. I'm sorry, on some level, right? Consumer preferences matter on some level. Let me click something here real quick. Do you believe in stacking crystal malts? September and June, do you believe in stacking crystal malts for depth, or just add up the 30, 40, 60 and use a special B? I'm when it comes to things like that, that's a great question. I do like to layer up. If I'm going to make a big Munich forward beer, I like to have Munich 1 and Munich 2 from Weyermann in there. There's not a huge difference between them, but dude, I like stacking up where you can without kind of throwing kitchen sink at it. That idea of layering up crystal malt for me, I absolutely love, and it feels so nostalgic for me. I remember when I was first getting into brewing, reading Brewing Classic Styles, Jamil Zainasheff and John Palmer. If you're brewing at home, and dude, even if you're brewing on the pro side, man, and you want to know how a classic beer style tastes, freaking take that recipe and brew it, and you're going to be pretty darn in the pocket. You might want to tweak it one way or another. That book is no joke, and the recipes in that book are an amazing starting point. But Jamil, one of the authors of that book, always talked about kind of layering those in. So if you're going to use, if you're going to have like a pound, let's say, if you're going to have a pound of Crystal 60 in a beer, maybe grab half a pound of 40, half a pound of 80, and like try to create an arc of flavor, right? Nothing to where you're just smashing it over the head and going 20% or whatever and fitting them both in there. Yeah, man, I do like doing that, and I do that with even beers that I'm not utilizing crystal malt. I think it's a really great way to go. Back to Nick's question. I mean, trying to avoid the one thing I will say though is, and I've kind of, I don't know, I love the stuff that I get from Wireman. But sometimes you hear people talk about some malts that you can get from overseas or whatever that potentially have like oxidation issues, a little age on them. That may very well be. These days, the stuff I'm using that's continental from Europe, it's the Wireman stuff, and it's fresh and it's awesome. And if you don't like Barca Pills, you can fight me because I love it. I was just professing my love for Barca Pills today on the gram. Nick, man, I hope that answers your question. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you feel as if you got any value out of the video, please like and subscribe. There are also other videos that you can watch. They're gonna maybe be over here or over here. Appreciate you watching.